just want to share with you why we see so much success from our return to run programming versus potentially the other return to run programs that you followed in the past. I have no doubt that you've probably worked with physios and other coaches in the past, and you've tried to kind of build back your running. Potentially you've followed some sort of logic that's similar to this, where you're working through a week 1 through 2, 4, 6, 8, 12-week program. We're building up from 10 times 60 seconds of work, 60 seconds of recovery, where you're probably jogging, walking, you're building this up, you're then progressing into 8 times 90 seconds, 8 times 2 minutes, 8 times 3 minutes with a respectable recovery in between, which is where you're kind of actively recovering. Guys, these formulas, right? These are frameworks that, again, depending on the individual, we want to be adjusting and depending on the terrain, the type of injury they've dealt with, we would potentially add to this or subtract from this in terms of the amount of volume they're doing. One key element, and probably the most important element that most people have never really ever experienced truly, is this individualized strength and conditioning program, right? That comes alongside all of this, okay? I want to share with you right now what this looks like. One of the biggest points of difference with our return to run strategy is that we place equal emphasis on your levels of strength and conditioning just as much as you're increasing your run volume, run intensity. As we start to map out your return to run strategy, we're going to make sure that we're placing equal emphasis on developing your levels of strength and conditioning. And it starts obviously, guys, about looking at the way you move. Where do your levels of confidence lie and obviously not lie? And so your ability to hinge through one hip, balance on one leg, your ability to jump and land through and produce power and absorb force. This is going to tell us a lot about what we need to be working on, as well as slowly building up your run mechanics. Because essentially, guys, as we start to map this out, what we're looking for is this comprehensive approach where we are mapping out your strength sessions as much as your run sessions, and we're building them up week on week. But the feedback that we're working with, we're communicating on a day-to-day basis. We're making those little micro adjustments within your messages because we want to make sure that with the training that we're giving you, that we're potentially giving you 3 runs, 2 S&C sessions. We're also looking at your run warm-up, your run recovery kind of protocols. These are all aspects of your training that we want to be working on. Because that's the secret, guys. It's this ability to integrate both elements, both qualities, developing your strength as much as developing your endurance. Most people get hung up on want to get passionate about developing this, and they forget about this. They forget about maintaining these levels of strength and conditioning, working on those areas of weakness. The reason we have the success we do and we get people back within 12 weeks, but from being told they can't run to running 50K ultras, is because we hold people accountable to these levels of strength and conditioning. This is what I want you to understand within your own training. And the biggest takeaway I can give you guys is this kind of non-negotiable relationship between the two. If you want more from one, from in your running, whether it's you want to be faster, you want to go longer, how are you earning the right to do so within your strength and conditioning? When you're mapping out your training programming, we want to see a wonderful integration of both elements. And if this is something you struggle with because of that overall training load, that is where the art of it comes in, like understanding all the other goings on of your life. Managing your training load is also managing it around your work life, your other commitments. And that is obviously where the detail comes in on an individual basis. But food for thought, guys. Just wanted to give you this little bit of insight because it still eludes a lot of people. A lot of people can go through these return to run protocols and still not see the results. It's because there's not this individualized approach to S&C. They're not being integrated together, and then they're not being integrated on top of a busy working lifestyle. And this is what you need to be working on.